So network. Like honestly, it was probably one of the biggest reasons why I got my training contract off. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Nadine and this is Legally Diverse, a platform I've set up to help aspiring solicitors reach their goal as quickly as possible whilst keeping you motivated throughout the process. So today I'm going to be talking about vacation schemes. I'm really excited about this one, guys, because ultimately it's my performance on the VAC scheme that landed me my training contract offer. So I'm going to be sharing my hints and tips with you about how you can also be very successful in turning your VAC scheme into the ultimate TC, which is the goal. So grab some snacks, grab some food, grab a couple drinks, because it's going to be a long one, but I promise it will be worth it. So let's get straight into the video. So, tip number one, prepare. And I literally say that 3 times because I've broken it down into 3 different compartments. Firstly, you want to prepare from the resources that you receive from graduate recruitment. It's often the case that graduate recruitment will send you some documents or some information before you start the scheme. That information may include who your supervisor and training buddy is, the overview of the scheme, so what presentations or talks you'll need to attend during your time there, and the department that you will be sitting in. Now, it could include a lot more information than that, or it could include a little bit less than that. But if you do receive that information, this is my advice to you. Firstly, when it comes to your trainee and supervisor, make sure you do research before the scheme even begins. Before I started my vacation scheme, I looked my supervisor up and my training buddy up on LinkedIn. Luckily, they had LinkedIn. And I used that as an opportunity to get to know them and their general legal background or career background and things that they liked or enjoyed if those sections were filled in so that we could connect as soon as I started the VAC scheme. Having that basic knowledge and understanding of the people that I would be working very closely with was really beneficial when it came to my VAC scheme because I literally hit the ground running with both my supervisor and my training buddy. We're able to connect on things like our pro bono interests and the university we went to and a number of other things that we would have never been able to connect with so early on if I hadn't done that background research. So when you get your information, look into the people that are listed. With regards to the department that you're going to join, make sure that you look into any recent deals or cases that that department has worked in. You want to make sure you go into the department with your best foot forward. So is it a big department of the firm or is it one of their smaller departments? What type of work do they do? What work have they done recently? All these things you should know before the scheme even starts. It's in the preparation stage. And finally, when you get the overview, if you get the overview of your scheme, make sure you make a note and you plan out the events you have throughout the scheme and start thinking of questions. So for example, if you know you're going to have a talk on diversity and inclusion, think of some questions you may want to ask at the end of that presentation. Similarly, if you know you're going to have a talk on pro bono, think about questions you may want to ask. So for example, how the firm goes about deciding what organizations or what countries to work with on pro bono matters. Like these are all things that you want to do during the scheme to stand out, and it starts during the preparation stage. Now, the second prepare of the first point, so prepare number 2, is make sure you prepare your knowledge generally of the firm. So you want to go back to all that research you did at the application stage. Make sure you refresh your understanding, your knowledge of the firm in general. You want to make sure you don't get mixed up with any other statistics or anything of other firms you've applied for. I've actually done a post on my Instagram about how to research law firms, and I will put it here. It's a post that just, again, shows you things like resources you can use to research firms and some things you want to think about when you're doing your research. I did mention in my other video, but if you haven't checked it out, make sure you check it out before you do your VAC scheme. You want to make sure that you can answer all these questions before you meet the firm, quote, quote, face to face. And thirdly, you want to prepare your commercial awareness. So I kind of touched it on the first point, but essentially you want to have a good understanding about what the firm is doing in the commercial markets, in the business markets. What is it doing with its clients? Who are its clients? Because being commercially aware is a massive component when it comes to securing a training contract. And your commercial awareness will be checked and it will be tested in some kind of capacity. It may not be until the interview stage post the VAC scheme when you're interviewing for the training contract, but you definitely want to drop your commercial awareness into conversations you have right from the beginning of the scheme. Whether you're talking to your supervisor, whether you're talking to a partner who's just giving you another piece of work, or whether you're talking to people within the network that you want to build at the firm, you want to let all of those people know that you understand what the firm is doing, what is important to the firm, and who the firm work with. Commercial awareness is a big part of those conversations and a big part of how they view you as a potential trainee. So make sure each of those prepares are dealt with. I've also done a post on my Instagram about how to develop your commercial awareness, and I will also put it here. So check that post out for tips on what platforms to use to develop and maintain your commercial awareness in preparation for your VAC scheme. Tip number 2, make sure you dress and look the part. Obviously, this is a 2-week ongoing interview. It's just that different people are interviewing you. And then obviously you have an ultimate interview at the end of the scheme. So make sure you are always dressing and looking the part. I know, especially having done a virtual VAC scheme, that it can feel a little bit more relaxed because you're in your own comfortable environment, but it is still so important that you look professional. Tip number 3. Make sure you are on time for everything that you have going on during the VAC scheme. Make sure that you're on time, logged in and ready to go before any presentations or talks. And similarly, make sure you're ready to go ahead of time for any networking conversations that you have scheduled. It is one of those things where, being late makes you you kind of don't value people's time, or you kind of can't manage your time effectively. So make sure you're ready to go about 5 minutes before the time is set. That way you're comfortable, you're relaxed, and you're focused. Because the last thing you want to do is have your name pop up for reasons that are not favorable. And an example of that is being late for something. So be on time and be ready. Tip number 4. Make sure you always have a pen and paper to hand. Always have a pen and paper to hand. Whether you are speaking to a supervisor or a partner or a senior associate, or having a casual conversation, or even if you're talking to a trainee, make sure you have a pen and paper to hand, because people are giving instructions, people are giving advice, people are giving tips, and unless you're ready, you may not get them or you may not remember them. And at this stage of the process, you want to make sure that you take and embrace every tip and every instruction that is given to you. You want to also make sure that you're showing initiative. You want to let them know that you're taking this conversation seriously, whether it is formal or informal. You also want to ensure that you're eager to learn. Ultimately, a training contract is you literally training in 4 different seats. So it's not a case that the firm expects you to know everything right from the beginning, but firms definitely do want candidates that show that they are eager to learn and they're ready to do it quickly. So by bringing a pen and paper to a meeting, to a talk, to a presentation, to a networking event, it shows that you are always ready to learn. And for me, I think that that is the ultimate trait that you need as a future or potential trainee. Tip number 5, make sure on the scheme you record everything you do. Everything. From the talks and the presentations that you attend, to the networking conversations that you organize, to the work that you produce. Record everything. Why? Because at the end of the scheme, you will have an interview, and in the interview, they will obviously want to know what it is that you did during the scheme and what it is that you learned during the scheme that you didn't already know about the firm. And I mean, for me, my interview was about a month after I finished the VAC scheme. So it could have been very hard for me to remember every single thing I did if I didn't record every single thing I did. So when it got to the interview stage, I was able to document everything I learned, everyone I spoke to, and everything that still pushed me towards pursuing a career with the firm that I'm now at. So record everything. And obviously, you can start doing that as soon as you get the preparation from graduate recruitment. If they give you a booklet with an overview of the information that they're going to show you or the presentations that they're going to put on for you, start putting that down into a table. And then as you go on throughout the scheme, make sure you update that information so that everything is recorded. To help, I've actually done a template for you for your upcoming VAC schemes. So if you'd like it, like this video and then comment in the section below saying tracker, please. And then send me an email and let me know that you would like the tracker, and I will send that straight over to you in preparation for your upcoming VAC scheme. The tracker also gives you some boxes where you can start to reflect on different parts of your VAC scheme as it happens. And that way, again, when you get to the interview stage, you are well prepared for all questions relating to your VAC scheme experience. Tip number 6. Make sure you always go the extra mile. Now, there are kind of two different people in this world. There are people that do the bare minimum, and there are people that go the extra mile, the people that go above and beyond, the people that are always striving to do more, to help more, to gain more from the experience. I think you should definitely be in the latter. So during the scheme, make sure that you show that quality. If you're given a research task, for example, offer to help with another task once that's completed to do with the same matter, or ask them if there's anything else that you can help with on that matter. Just let them know that you're not just there to do the little bit that they've requested, but that you're open to doing and learning more. That is the way that you impress the supervisors and the partners that are there to give you work, but also evaluate your attitude towards the work that you're given. When you're given the task, also think beyond the task and think around the task. So for example, think about the implications and the impact that your task will have on the bigger picture. Think about what other components may be involved and ask. Show them that you're interested in the work that you're doing and you're interested in how your work contributes to the overall success of the matter. Because in commercial law, many different teams and then many different people within the different teams all contribute to one solution. And so as a VAC scheme student, you want to show them that you're already in there with them. You want to show them that you're already interested in where this fits into their success. So speak to them, ask for more information, engage on the topic, and show them that you're willing to help in any other matter that you can. Going above and beyond is very important. Now, sometimes going above and beyond may not even lead to more work. I know it sounds weird, but I'll give you an example. So when I was on my VAC scheme, I had to do a dispute resolution task in which I had to draft a memorandum to a client. So basically I had to explain to a client the process that they were going through and what needed to be done to get to the end goal. Now I completed that work and yeah, it wasn't great, but because this opportunity was really important to me and because it was imperative that I showed them how much I wanted this and how much I was willing to learn and how much effort I was willing to put into this, I offered to redo the task all over again if it meant getting it right. And when I communicated this to my supervisor, she was impressed. And even though she told me that she didn't want me to complete the task, she then did mention in my feedback report that I'd offered to redo the task, and she was really impressed by that. So by going the extra mile or by being willing to go the extra mile, I got another piece of positive feedback when it came to my report. And that is what you want. You want to keep showing them the positive traits that you have, because that is how they will ultimately evaluate you for a training contract offer. Tip number 7. Now, with that being said, I do understand that there are only 24 hours in a day, not meaning you want to work 24 hours in the day. And so you can't do everything all at once. So my tip for this is make sure you manage expectations. Managing expectations essentially just means that you communicate to the people that want to give you work what other work you have and how best you're going to manage your work and your time to complete what is required. Now, it is often the case that one partner may give you work and not know the work that your supervisor has given you, or not know the work that another partner has given you, or that you've received from graduate recruitment. So you could receive work from 4 different people at one time, and innocently enough, they don't know that everyone else has given you work. So instead of, burning out and stressing and panicking, start to manage people's expectations. And you do that by, firstly, showing your enthusiasm for the work that they have given you and the opportunity that you see available in having that work provided to you. Secondly, you want to ask what the deadline is and the expectation is of the work that they want to provide you with. So, for example, the work that they're giving you, did they expect it to be done tomorrow, or do they expect it to be done at the end of next week? Because once you have that information, it tends to be a lot easier for you to evaluate whether it is possible for you to meet that expectation. And then thirdly, you want to analyze what I've just said. So you want to analyze the work you have, the work that you're meant to be receiving next from this new partner or this new supervisor. And you want to think about how it is you can juggle and balance things around to meet the expectation. But fourthly, you want to communicate. So if you can't do it, so for example, if you have 2 deadlines tomorrow and this new supervisor or partner wants to give you another deadline for tomorrow, if it's just not possible, then it's just not possible. So just communicate this to the partners, tell them how enthusiastic and happy you are that they've come to you with this piece of work and that you're interested in looking into it, but that you have these other deadlines that are due, and ask them, is their deadline flexible? Ask them if you can start their piece of work after you submitted your other courses of work tomorrow. Just start to communicate with the people involved. Let them know that you want to do it and you want to try and manage it as best as possible, and can they kind of help you figure it out? Obviously, we all kind of know that law isn't necessarily a 9 to 5. So if you're thinking that, you won't finish all this work by 5 p.m. and that's why you're rejecting it, then I don't know what to tell you. But if it is genuinely the case that you just can't, all the hours permitted in the world, you can't complete it, then communicate it and see what solutions you can bring forward to get it done. You want to show that you're able to manage your time, you're able to communicate, and you're able to provide solutions. So as long as you do that, you reduce the pressure on yourself and you manage the expectations of others. And that ultimately is important, both on the VAC scheme, but also as a future trainee and lawyer going forward. No one wants to give work to someone who actually can't cope with the load and then can't perform. So communicate and manage those expectations. Tip number 8, communicate with your supervisor. Now, as I kind of mentioned before, your supervisor is someone who generally is there with you throughout your vacation scheme process. They may be there to give you work, or they may be there to help you through the process. So to give you advice, or to help you with the online resources, or to give you hints and tips about how to complete the work or meet expectations. Like, they are there to guide you throughout the scheme. And so make sure you're communicating with your supervisor. Make sure you're doing all of the small things that in practice are big things. So you're saying good morning in the morning, you're speaking to them throughout the day, and then you're saying goodbye to them before you log off, if it's virtual, or before you intend to leave the office if it's in person. Make sure you are communicating with them about the work that you're doing and how you're spending your time. If you're doing your vacation scheme virtually, for example, they can't obviously see what you're doing every minute of the day. They can't see what you're working on or who you're speaking to. Even if it's in person, they may not be necessarily right next to you the whole time, or they may not know who reaches out to you to give you work. So make sure you communicate with them, let them know who you're speaking to, the work you're doing, and how you're getting on. It is good to have that support, but it's also good for them to be able to report back exactly what you did and exactly how you performed. Obviously, graduate recruitment have seen you throughout the process. They've seen your application form, they've seen you at assessment centres, but they're not necessarily with you on the VAC scheme. So graduate recruitment is looking to your supervisor, maybe your training principal, and then any other partner, associate, senior associate, trainee who's interacted with you to give them advice on how it is that you perform throughout the VAC scheme. So if you communicate with your supervisor what you're getting up to, they can definitely push and champion your case for a training contract if you perform well. So don't negate that communication, don't negate that relationship, And as I mentioned before, if you can build those connections early on during your preparation stage and initial engagement, it makes the process a lot easier. Tip number 9, network, network, network. And yes, I've done it 3 times again because I've broken it back down into 3 different sections. Firstly, you want to network before the scheme begins. And what I mean by that is, I'm really happy you're here. If you're still here, I appreciate it. If these tips are helping you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. But obviously, when you're starting a vacation scheme with a firm, the people who can also help you are people who have recently gone through that process with that particular firm. So start to network with trainees and future trainees at the law firm. And do that by going onto LinkedIn and sending some messages. Ask them for their advice. Ask them if you can arrange a quick coffee chat with them to get their insight into the process, into the tips they have. Like, networking with these people is really important because these are people who know exactly what you're about to go through and can steer you in the right direction. Secondly, you want to network with the people on the vacation scheme with you. I know it can feel like this is a competition. It can feel like, you're one of 20 odd people, maybe less, who've made it to the VAC scheme stage and you're all aiming for that training contract. If you do well, then you will make it. And a massive quality for trainee solicitors is teamwork. So if you're able to build relationships and network with the people on the VAC scheme, it does show to graduate recruitment that you're the type of person who can then translate that into networking and relationship building with people in the departments that you'll eventually be in. So allow yourself to get a bit comfortable with the people around you so that you can learn from each other and excel on this scheme. You also want to network with the people that they put in the documents that they give you in preparation. So, for example, if you know you're going to have a presentation from a specific person in the firm, start to look into them, start to network with them. And if you're not able to get your question out at the end of their presentation, reach out to them and get some more information that way. Don't miss any opportunity to learn more if you have the capacity to do so. And thirdly, you want to network with the people that you might not necessarily have access to automatically on the scheme. And what I mean by that is, for example, I sat in the dispute resolution department on my VAC scheme, and I also had an interest in corporate and in restructuring and in competition and in employment. But obviously, I couldn't sit in all of those different departments during the scheme. So what I did was I made a conscious effort to reach out to people in each of those departments and get more information about their experience in the department, about what the department was doing, and about how it is I could keep up to date with that area of law and with them going forward. So make a conscious effort to do that. If you need to, start drafting an email and send that email out. Like for me, on the first 2 days of my VAC scheme, I sent out over 20 emails to other people in the firm, from trainee solicitors right up to partner level, because I wanted to make sure that I didn't just know about dispute resolution, but I knew about several other areas of the firm that was of interest to me. And then, as well as learning from people, I was able to network and build connections with people. And then I was also able to translate my information and my networks to, again, my training contract interview. So network, network, network. Like, honestly, it was probably one of the biggest reasons why I got my training contract offer, because I was able to put myself out there and keep learning. One of the easiest ways to learn is to speak to people about their experiences and just get their advice. Tip number 10, on the scheme, you want to be enthusiastic, inquisitive, proactive, and present. When I say enthusiastic, I kind of feel like I've covered it, in that you want to show that you're really interested in the firm, you're really there to learn. I've kind of covered it. I'll move on to the next one. You want to show that you're inquisitive. And that kind of goes back to the thing about making sure you understand the bigger picture of any work that you're doing and how it contributes to the overall success of the firm. You also want to be inquisitive about other people's journeys, about other people's experiences, and about how best you can perform during your time there. Thirdly, you want to be proactive in the way that you approach people and the way that you approach the talks and the presentations that you are to attend. Be proactive in the sense that you're prepping your questions, be proactive in the sense that you're reaching out to people, and be proactive in the sense that you're already documenting everything that you do so that you're able to present yourself in the best light when it comes to the end of the scheme. And then you want to be present. So during my virtual vacation scheme, because it was literally virtual through the camera, it was a little bit harder to stay engaged with talks because you were essentially looking at your screen for an hour listening to someone. And you can get like fatigued. I think that's what it's called. And that's natural, but you don't want it to look like you're not interested in what is being said and you're not there engaged. So when you're in a presentation, whether it's virtual or in person, make sure you're smiling when someone's talking because it encourages them and lets them know that you are still there, lets them know that you're listening and that you're interested in what they're saying. And nod as well. Like, I don't know if you've noticed on my Instagram lives, but when someone else is talking, I do a lot of smiling and nodding. For me, I feel like I have to do it because my resting face isn't as cute. So I have to I'm like, yeah, watch my next Instagram live. You'll notice that I do it a lot. Those are definitely 4 things that you want to make sure graduate recruitment can definitely say about you when it comes to them reflecting on your performance during the VAC scheme. Tip number 11, be yourself. I know that it can be a stressful process in that you are aiming for that training contract and you're putting yourself under a lot of pressure to do well, but be yourself. You want them to like you for you. You want to show them your personality. And the best way to connect with people is by showing your authentic self. So be yourself. If you're bubbly, be bubbly. If you're loud, be talkative, but don't be overbearing. And if you're quiet and shy, that's fine too. There are all different types of personalities and we need a little bit of everyone to make a good team. So don't feel like you have to change who you are because who you are has got you to this stage. So just be natural with it and enjoy the process. This is ultimately still a 2-way street. Yes, I know we all need that training contract offer at the end, but make sure that this is the firm that you actually do want to train with. So as well as them assessing you, you want to make sure that you're assessing them. You want to make sure that they are the type of firm that you'll feel comfortable at and that your career ambitions and your career interests do align with what the firm has to offer. Be yourself, be comfortable and enjoy it. But tip number 12, remember though that you are still assessed at all times. So yes, be yourself. Yes, relax. Yes, get comfortable, but be professional and be smart with it. Like, don't say anything too off the cuff or inappropriate. Like, it is still a professional environment. So you still want to give yourself that professional look. You still want to have that professional image. It's just that you want to be friendly professional. So yeah, remember that you have assessed at all times, whether you're having general conversations with people, whether you're having general catch-ups with people, people are still assessing you as a potential trainee. So please don't forget that. And finally, remember that you are good enough. Remember that you're good enough. I know a lot of us suffer imposter syndrome. We feel like someone may think that we don't belong here or we don't fit in, or we ourselves may feel like we don't fit in. And I know for me, for ages, I used to doubt whether I was magic circle material or whether people like me who didn't get consistent firsts and A stars and everything else deserve to be a magic circle trainee. But honestly, that is not the case. Yes, law firms have qualities and trainings that they like, but they are things that anyone can display. Teamwork, communication skills, innovation skills, commercial awareness. Like, these are things that graduate recruitment look for. And these are things that they would have been assessing from you throughout your application process. Right from the application form to the assessment center, video interview, like, they have brought you to the stage because they think that you are good enough. They think that you can be a trainee at the firm. They think that you have the qualities that they need, and now they just need you to prove it. They need you to show it. They need to see that you want to be there and that you do think that this firm is right for you. So don't doubt yourself. You have done excellent to get to this stage. Start your scheme with confidence. Use the tips that I've told you to make sure that you make this scheme as productive as possible and smash it, because you've absolutely got this. So with that being said, that is it, guys. Those are my lucky number 13 tips for turning your vacation scheme into your training contract offer. I really hope they've been helpful. If they have, as always, don't forget to like this video, comment below what tips you found most helpful, or any other tips that you've been given or you've received in feedback following a vacation scheme you've had in the past. And as I said, I have a couple of templates that will help you. I have the record keeping template for your VAT scheme, where you can record all of the tasks and people you spoke to in preparation for your interview. And I have a networking template actually, which I didn't mention before, but if you stay till the end, you know now. So if these are templates that you want, drop trackers please in the comment section below. Make sure you send me an email letting me know what your YouTube username is so I can cross-reference, and like this video, and I will send you the trackers that I have in relation to vacation schemes for free. Other than that, if you haven't already, share with your friends and subscribe. All the best in your VAT scheme, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.